Live.
Technical difficulties, people. We're just going to check this over really quick. Make sure. Oh,
Yep.
we're
Restream
live.
is up.
Awesome.
There
All
we
right.
go.
Hey, everyone. This is Adam Huber and Shelly
What up?
Gladys with Marketing Monday. We have Chef
What did
Lance
you
here.
just say?
Hello.
Shelly, what?
Gaddis.
Oh, I thought it sounded like you added an L in there, and I'm
Did I?
like, it's not.
Well,
it's not.
you know what?
Gladys.
I'm going to add an L in there now. Glad to be with us.
Right.
That's-
nice one.
Bad joke.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
oh, here, can I have my water bottle really quick? For those of you guys who don't know, Marketing Monday is a thing that Shelly and I do because there was a place here in Sioux Falls that used to be called the Bakery. The Bakery used to be where entrepreneurs would gather, work out of, and everything like that. And they used to do a thing called Marketing Monday. A little bit different setup than what we have here because it would just be more of a round table where people with marketing issues or questions would come and everyone would chime in their 2 cents. And Shelly and I, we were looking to get plugged back into the business community. And we thought that this would be a really great way to do that, where people come on and either talk about what they're doing well with marketing, or if they have marketing issues, we do a podcast about it and give our opinion on what they could be doing better or what they could look forward to doing. So today we have Chef Lance. And
That's me.
Lance, why don't you give people a little bit of a diddly about who you are, what you do. As you can probably tell, you're a chef. So
You
take
are
the floor.
just on it today, man.
A diddly.
A diddly.
He asked for a diddly. I don't know if
I'm
I
not
know
exactly sure
what
what a
is a
diddly
A
diddly.
diddly, and is a very proper term for anything that is 2 to 5 minutes of an explanation of what
Oh,
you're doing.
really?
I think that's actually called a ditty, not a diddly.
I'm gonna call it a
Diddly.
diddly.
You
I'm
got
adding
those
L's.
L's to everything today.
I've never been asked to give a diddly before, so
Do a little ditty.
yeah.
No, Diddy is P Diddy. Can't be invoking the great one's name like that. So give us a little diddly.
Please
A
take this
ditty.
conversation away.
Yes, I'm stealing it away from him. So my diddly. So I'm actually, yes, I'm a chef. I own Chef Lance's Cafe and Catering. How I got into this business is probably the biggest question people ask me. I'm not a certified anything, so high school dropout.
It's all right.
High school
Nice.
dropout, and I had a good friend of mine give me the go get a job speech.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know where to go, and they told me to apply at a restaurant here in town, and I just fell in love with it. And I was 17 at the time. And since I didn't have much of a career path mapped out for me, I said, teach me what you know about cooking. And so that was in '95, so about
Wow.
25 years ago.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so in '95, probably until about 2010, I would say. Mainly just kind of floated around a lot, worked a lot of different restaurants, worked at Dakota Dunes down just north of Sioux City at the golf course there.
Oh, okay. Yep.
The Dakota Dunes Country Club, worked down there for a while. And really started my first business at the same place that I'm at right now. That had a horrible name to it, so I'll just leave that out of it. That was my first shot at it. So I worked for another caterer at the time, and then went to work at a hospital. And all of a sudden, people were asking me if I could do catering, and I realized that since I had a set schedule at the hospital, that yeah, I could. And so I started booking caterings and stuff, and then I realized that I really needed a kitchen to pull this off. I was renting kitchens and using chef friends of mine and stuff, and so I'd found out about this opportunity just north of the airport, the business airport. There's a kitchen out there, and they needed someone to man it and do catering and stuff, and so I really kind of jumped into that, not really knowing what was going on, and
Nice.
did that for close to 3 years, and then got recruited to go run a resort, and that was when I realized that I really didn't want to work for anyone else anymore. I really wanted to do my own thing, and so came back to Sioux Falls and kind of just found myself right back where I was again, where I wanted to sell food and do catering, but didn't have, the means to the ends as far as, $100,000 in capital and stuff like that. So just kind of started where I was, and my old kitchen opened back up in June of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
They called me and said, "Hey, do you want to do this again?" And I said, "Yes, please," because I was looking at another location, but it would have been quite a bit to keep that going. I really would have had to hit it out of the park right away on day one. And so
now, if you want to pause there for just 1
Yeah.
second, two things. One, can you just get that microphone to where like you're just gonna eat it? Like
Yeah.
there you go, just
Yeah.
right just like that,
But
wherever
don't
it's
eat
comfortable to.
but don't eat it.
Don't eat it.
Okay.
But-
mean,
The second thing I was going to ask is because I've actually worked in the restaurant business too, like just as a line cook,
Sure.
when you're younger and
Sure.
everything. And, something that maybe people don't realize, but like is an absolute truth is that industry is incredibly high turnover.
Sure.
Like
Yep.
super big burnout.
Yep.
Because the people that know how to cook really well, like in a line cook, instance anyways,
Mm-hmm.
if you're fast and efficient, they're going to work the ever living piss out of you.
Right.
Like you're working 12 to
Exactly.
14 hour days.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. And if the moment that someone doesn't show up for work, you're the one that's getting called in.
Yeah.
And on the worst bit is on the busiest of holidays and everything like that, you're the one that's like,
Yep.
nope, you're just living there.
Yeah.
Like we'll set you up a nice little tent in the back and then like you
Right.
can just
Right.
sleep here.
Yeah.
Like you'll just have all these little peons doing the prep for you, but you're the one that's slaving away on the grill. Like
Yep.
you're in
Yeah.
it. So I'm guessing obviously that's something that you kind of ran into.
Yeah, that's
because
what
everyone that's in that industry runs into it.
Right. So obviously, like if you want to cook, like where the money is if you're the head guy, if you're the head chef, that's
Yep.
where the money is. But usually that comes with a salary, and that salary means, like you said, that you're on call 24/7.
Yep.
And when I did this, when I worked for this resort, that's exactly what happened. So it was very, very small town, and it was like a destination type place. And so from spring through fall, you had a lot of weddings, you had hunters, you had a lot of activity, and you needed a ton of staff to help you pull all that off. And then as soon as like October hit, it just died. And so you were working like 90 to 100 hours a week, during the busy time. But then when it slowed down, they had to get rid of everybody because they couldn't support them.
Right.
And then you were only working 60 hours a week.
Oh, only.
You know?
I mean,
And like you said too, your Christmas is busy, Thanksgiving is busy, Easter's busy, Fourth
Yeah.
of July is busy. All of those major holidays are busy, and that was when that job ended and I came back, I was like, if I'm going to work 80 hours, I'd rather do it for myself from here on out,
Right.
if possible. And I've been pretty stubborn about that, and worked part-time here and there and tried to go back and get like a regular 9-to-5 job, and I think that lasted about 5 months, about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it anymore. So.
Do you have something that you want to add, Shelly? Because there's a question that I
No,
have.
go ahead.
Okay, so something that I'm really passionate about is not necessarily culture, but just really poor leadership in areas, and is one of the main reasons why you kind of hopped around and stuff like that was because of just really terrible management / leadership.
I would say yes and no. So I would say the bigger thing was, so the yes part of that was yes. So you would go to work for a company because maybe the last place that you worked for, paid you $1 less.
Right.
So you could go make $1 more if you jumped ship and went and worked over there.
Right.
Then you would get over there and you would realize that, like, okay, yeah, they're paying you more, but like this is so unorganized. They're doing stuff that just doesn't make sense, and your voice isn't being heard and that kind of thing. So then sometimes you would take a pay cut to go back to the positive work, what's the word, atmosphere, and but maybe not as much hours or as not as much pay,
Right.
but at least it was
You didn't hate
stress-free
yourself for going in there.
when you were there, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So but I would say that so the yes part of it was the bad atmosphere, but the no part of it was definitely ego, like my ego, like I don't want to do this anymore. I could do better over there. Or I
Yeah.
can do better over there. I definitely went through that, and it probably wasn't until about 2010 that my ego
Finally got in check.
finally got in check. Yeah, exactly.
So
And I was
2010,
just like-
you're about how old?
That was my thought too. I wonder what age that was.
So 2010. So let's see. I'm 41 now. So yeah.
Let's just call it
about
30.
31. Yeah.
Oof.
That was
Currently here.
That was about the
residing
time.
in full ego land.
Yeah, I'm like, I think you got a couple years left on yours, buddy.
yeah. that my doo-doo did stink, you
Yeah.
know, and that I didn't have all the answers, and so
Okay, so it's 2010, and then you decide to right around that time, like, start going out and doing your own thing.
that's when I did my own thing.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I wanted to do my own thing back then, but I knew that I didn't know anything about the business side of the business.
Which the restaurant business is brutal
Right.
when it comes to like margins and everything
Yeah.
like that.
Yep. I realized I didn't know anything about that. And so I actually started taking some business classes at a local university here. And I was like, that's what I want to do. But I hated that. I mean, I was a high school dropout.
Yeah.
And so I loved my business classes. But then, of course, they made me take, you know,
Accounting.
like world history and,
Yeah.
and art appreciation and stuff like that. And then this kitchen presented itself in my second semester. So I was like, well, I can either learn it as I go or, you know,
Did it ever occur to you at any point in time to bring on someone, like a partner that did know the business side really well?
Then no. Again, maybe the ego was still alive, but I saw it as like I could learn this as I went. And obviously, like I asked the health department all of the questions, asked the free resources, the state of South Dakota, what do I need to do my taxes? And those were really the best resources for me. Back then in 2010, believe it or not, like social media wasn't really a thing.
No, I can believe that.
Yeah. I mean,
I know that.
it was there, like Facebook was there, but
barely even that.
Yeah.
and it was, I remember it was like, you remember like you had to have like a edu or a .gov even to join, before they opened it up to anybody with an email address. Like in the beginning, you had to have a school or like a government agency.
I think
right?
I joined Facebook in 2010.
Oh my gosh.
2009, 2010, somewhere
Got
in
at
there.
least 5 years on you guys as far as that goes.
Do you?
I mean, I probably joined Facebook. I graduated high school in 2007, and I was on it well before then.
Huh.
Like, I would say probably more like freshman, sophomore.
Is he-
Like
Yeah, it
freshman.
was the first
Is
or
he
second
saying
year
he's
that we
cooler than
opened.
us? Is that what's going on?
Not at all. He's not.
I think so.
No. We are well versed, Lance. I am wise beyond Adam's years.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That doesn't take
That's why
much,
we
though.
balance each other out.
That doesn't take much.
That's my sense of humor anyways. I'm very sarcastic, so.
Oh, perfect. We're going
Yeah.
to get along great.
Yeah. But anyway, so social media really wasn't a thing. I mean, you could, I think at that time, like, smartphones were becoming a thing, obviously, but like if you wanted to update to Facebook, you had to like text it to a number. If I remember it correctly, when I first started, like that was the way that you did it
I don't remember.
from your cell phone. So, and maybe there was a way to do it, and I just wasn't savvy.
Trying to think back in 2010. I mean, I was on Android, which was my first mistake.
Yeah.
But
We're not going to start this discussion.
are you
today,
sure?
sir.
Because
No.
we could.
No, we're not.
But yeah. Anyway, so this kitchen presented itself to you,
Yeah.
and like, how did that go? Like,
You
still
know,
around today?
So then, it was very similar to this time around too, where it's not like, you don't have a ton of capital. So you have to sell cheeseburgers every day. You have to sell cups of soup, and you have to do cater. So I really drove people out to the cafe. The word of mouth was getting out great as far as catering and stuff went. It was this opportunity to run the resort appealed to my ex-wife and I as like, okay, maybe we can slow down. Like maybe we won't have to work so hard, and I can do a salary, and the resort's closed, 2 days a week, and we can at least have 2 days a week off in a row and that kind of thing.
Sounds familiar.
And didn't work out that way, but yeah, that was basically, and I think that was like it was good that happened, because now that I'm back there again, I realize and appreciate like what I have, and I'm not looking for like the next big thing. I'm just looking at like, how do I maximize this spot? Like we were talking about off air a little bit, what would a 4-hour work week look like?
Yeah.
30-hour work week. How do I have the revenues up and the sales up, but I'm only working 40 hours or 50 hours a week versus.
So now, to be clear, you're still doing Chef Lance's Cafe.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, you're wearing the attire for
Yeah,
it. Just connecting some dots here.
Which for the audience, where is Chef Lance's located?
So the cafe is just north of the airport. It's inside another business. So it's inside a place called Signature Flight Support. And that's where like the private jets and planes and helicopters and stuff fly. I know somebody that
flies out of there very regularly.
Right. And so that's where the kitchen is. And so the part of the terms of the lease is that I have to be open for breakfast and lunch for their passengers and for their employees. And so I have just a small, simple, comfort food menu: burgers, fries, and homemade cheese curds and stuff like that. Very small, limited menu. But that's also where I do all of my catering out of my kitchen there. So.
Okay. So how long have you been running out of that location?
Since June of 2018.
Okay.
So coming up on 2 years this year. So.
And would you say that it sounds like most of your business probably actually comes from doing catering and not that cafe?
Correct.
So how often are you doing catering? And how are people finding out about the catering?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, Adam.
Thus, the point of Marketing Monday.
Oh, man, I nailed it. Transitions, they're getting to be my thing.
Yeah, that was a great segue. So I would say I average probably, every week is a little bit different, but I average anywhere from 3 to 4 caterings a week.
Wow.
So
dang.
That's good. And they're all different size. So sometimes it's 20 people and sometimes it's 80, and sometimes I have a wedding for 200.
Still doing mostly comfort food like type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I do everything. So on the catering, I customize everything. So you call me up and say, I have this event and I want to spend this much. Is that doable? And then I write a menu, and if you like it, then we just move forward from there.
Okay.
Which I can speak to personally. We're in the process. I'm going to eat his food this week.
Yeah.
Better not suck.
I know. That's why we did this first, right? We don't do the podcast after.
That was very strategic.
Yeah.
Shelly just sends him a message, listen, we can't do this.
Sorry. No, it was the whole process, honestly, it was really great for us. Like, I reached out to multiple catering places here in town. Everything from not like cafe, but like Qdoba and like that kind of stuff, to some other chefs, and it's fantastic because we can kind of come up with a menu that allowed us to be able to meet different people's needs. And so we're doing a potato bar, like a baked potato bar, as well as a taco bar,
right?
So we can kind of meet all of those different needs, and everybody can kind of come and go and that kind of stuff. So
that's a big thing. I get that quite a bit because there's Sioux Falls is very diverse, and we have people that are gluten free, or they're dairy free, or they're vegetarian or vegan. And so that's something that oftentimes people are like, hey, we want to make sure that if those people are at our event, that maybe they can't get everything, but at least that there's something there.
Yeah, there's options. Yeah. So now, how do people find out about this?
So, well, I have been in Sioux Falls for 25 years. And so that was probably the first mistake that I made with my business back in 2010, was that I called it 3501 Aviation Cafe and Catering, which was such a mouthful for one. And for two, I just stuck with Chef Lance's Cafe and Catering, because a lot of people know the name Chef Lance. And so that's easy enough. It sticks with them. So I would say, the people that just know me, and then a lot of word of mouth. I think, well, Shelly, how did you find out about me?
I found out through Chef Ellen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Gotcha.
I've known who you were,
Sure.
obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we had Ellen on the podcast, I don't know, back in December, or yeah, it was before Christmas. She gave us goodies.
We're going to call it December.
Yeah.
In and around the month of
In
December.
and around somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had reached out to her to see what options she had available, and she's like, this really isn't my specialty. I really suggest you get a hold of Lance.
Yeah.
And so that was honestly incredibly refreshing to hear somebody not speak outside of what they can do and be like, yeah, I think I could try to pull this together or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, she knows her niche and is like, you know what, this doesn't fall within my niche.
Yeah, Chef Ellen
So-
is really great. We actually have worked together. We've taught cooking class together, and we do some similar things. We offer some very similar services, but she definitely has her niche, and I have mine.
Yeah.
And so, we refer each other on occasion. People. I don't focus so much on the healthy side of thing, where she definitely is that chef, and so if I get those types of clients, it's not that I can't do it, but I just know that she probably service them better or whatever. And I think that's and I have some other chefs that refer business to me too, which I think is just phenomenal. That we can support each other instead of looking at it as competition and
Absolutely.
go, oh, I don't know.
Right.
Well, there's nobody else in this town that cooks.
It's not me. So
Well,
Right.
and obviously that just helps your own reputation. Like, people see you as a stand-up person, and you're like, you know what, this isn't really my niche, but go check this person out. Like, that person will always have a lifelong referral from me if they are a big enough person to be like, check this guy out instead.
So I would say, like, how people find out about me. Obviously, I teach cooking class as part of my business model, is that it gets me out, and it gets me out into the public, and I can talk about the different things that I have going on, and I can meet new people that way. And then usually I just have this in my head that every time I'm doing an event, I'm also asking or soliciting for an event. So hopefully I do an event, I gain an event. So somebody's at something that I catered, and someone else is there, and they go, oh yeah, that was really good. I have this event coming up. I should talk to him about that. So that's really kind of been my thing. I would say that and then social media. I mean, I have, I think, close to 2,000 followers on my Facebook, and I obviously don't know that many people, but usually that's when I ask if, how'd you hear about us or whatever they say. That's usually, a friend told me about you, or, I put in on recommendations, who to contact for catering, and you're, like 4 different people said your name or something like that. So that's been a success for me, I guess, that way. But
Gotcha.
So where would you say that your business is today, as far as, like, are you at a level of stability that you're comfortable where you're at? Are you wanting to grow? Like, and if you are wanting to grow, where is your business model taking you? Like, are you planning to stay within just catering and the bit that you do out at aviation? Or it seems like a lot of chefs are moving into, like, meal delivery and that meal prep and that kind of stuff. Like, what's your future?
So, I have, really the goal is to maximize all 5 of my revenue streams, I guess. So I do the off-premise catering. I do a family meal delivery service already that I do every Monday, and then I have the cafe, and then I do airline catering, which I literally have no control over that. I can't really promote it nationwide or whatever and say, if you come to Sioux Falls, order a bagel tray or whatever. And then the 5th one is the cooking classes. And so really, and I said those in order, and really the goal is to, out of the top 3, the catering, the meal delivery, and the cafe, those 3 are the ones that I really have control over, and then I have the ability to grow, whereas the other 2, they kind of are what they are. And so is it consistent? No. I think you can attest to nothing about the food business is consistent. You have slow days, and then you have days where you go, was there a sign that I missed that said that everybody called Lance today? And a lot of times the caterings are not just, if I have 4, they're not like Tuesday through Friday I have caterings. I have 3 caterings on Friday and 1 on Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of how that works. So,
Yeah.
So do you currently have employees that help you out with this?
so it's a family-based business. So really, it's me. My wife does an amazing job. She's a nurse, but she does a great job. It just, you know, when I talk about my woes and stuff like that, she really helps contribute to obviously confidence and just different ideas that I could do. She's great that way. And then I have a 19-year-old son that works for me. And then I have a couple younger sons that help dad out every now and again. But then I have a daughter that's 23 that really helps any way that she can as well. It's definitely not full-time, but more like on a seasonal, like, hey, I have this big wedding coming up in June. Can you take that day off
Yep.
and help your dad out? So
Gotcha.
So for the most part, it's just me and my son Corbin. He's 19 and he wants to be a chef, and so he's really, you know, he's worked with me a lot. That's just kind of how it is when your dad's a chef. Like, I need you to work today. Get out of bed. You know.
I think that's just
So.
any business owner, not just chef. Just FYI.
Yeah.
My kids were like, "We got an event. Let's go.
Right.
Got big orders in. You're tagging.
Yep.
Let's go."
Yeah. So that's it. So maybe, you know, other than that, it's, you know, independent contractors as far as, you know, accountant and that
Yep.
kind of stuff. But on the day-to-day operations, yeah, it's just me and my boy.
So that kind of that was a little bit of where I was going with all of the line of questioning. So, like, what do you have in place if you're kind of wearing all of the hats right now? It sounds like.
Yeah.
Then what have you outsourced to other people, and what would you like? Or is there other things that you feel like you should maybe be outsourcing to other people so that it's freeing your time up to do what you're the best at, which is getting your name out there, which is, you know, doing the handshaking and the
Kissing
Yeah.
babies.
whatever.
Yeah.
Kissing babies.
Well, you know, I would say Corbin is he does a great job as far as like on Thursday when I'm catering your event. He does a great job at not only helping me get it prepped and get it ready so it's delivered hot and all that good stuff, but then also, you know, staying back at the cafe and making sure that the people that come in to eat lunch are taken care of as well. So, you know, that's a tough question. You should have sent me
So
that
do you have
in
like
advance.
accountant? Do you have
Yeah, I have
like a social media person?
I
Do
don't-
you have like who's on your team right now?
Yeah, I don't have a social media person. I would say that that has been maybe my
Weak point.
biggest headache maybe is you know, I'm a chef, so I'm not super computer savvy. I'm not super I guess that's the best way to say it, is doing that. And so I have tried different people in the past, and it's, you know, I don't have I didn't start the business with a lot of capital. I don't have a marketing budget, you know, that I set aside. And so I would say that has been probably the biggest headache, is that, you know, there's a lot of people that I know that could probably help me, but I can't afford them at this point.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm kind of in that, you know, which, you know, you need more capital so that you can drive more sales, but you need more sales so that you can get the capital to drive more sales. You know?
So just an idea that I was thinking about off the top of my head for these catering events. Something that a lot of business owners don't do well, in my opinion, is collect data.
Sure.
Collect as many people's information as possible, and then just kind of keep following up with those people. Now, this catering deal is a great way to capture 50 or 100 people's information all at just easily. And something that just off the top of my head that I'm thinking about is, you know, obviously the cost of food and the prepping of that food is a cost to your business. That's what you do every day and everything like that. But if you already have a made to order meal setup that you're doing, just as an idea to throw out there is, when you're doing these catering events, what if you were to have a box set aside that says something like, get a free week's worth of meals or something like that, just give us your info, first name, last name. We'll pick one person or 3 people to win, something like that.
Right.
But you take that information now and you put that into email marketing or something like that, which maybe you don't know how to do. But if you have someone, you build up this list to, 500 to 1,000 people. And I think that something that would be extraordinarily easy for you to do is to sit down, write down 25 meals that you could, like, in your sleep, be able to be like, here's how you make them. And then that's your email content.
Right.
That then these people just get emails or whatever on how to do these things. Or surprisingly, like, I don't understand this, but Gordon Ramsay, almost every time he does an interview, he almost always gets asked, how do you make the most perfect scrambled eggs, or how do you make the perfect burger, or something like that.
Sure.
And I'm just looking at this, I'm like, yeah, like, I get it, but, like, how many times does the guy need to repeat, like, how to make the most perfect scrambled eggs or the best burger, right? And like, I mean, but people obviously appreciate that kind of stuff.
Right.
And anyways, so, like, if that's the part of the business that you're trying to grow, catering or even the meal delivery stuff or whatever, to me, that seems like a really easy way to do that, to build that out, to get more people interested in it. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
It's a phenomenal idea. And I think that I've become a lot more self-aware, and I've realized that sitting down at a computer, even though I hate to do it, is this part of, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah.
And it's not that I can't do it. It's just,
I would pay someone to do it.
I was just going to say, I don't think you should be doing it, honestly. Like, I think you should be gathering the information. And I think this is something that it's so hard as business owners to see the investment into it. Yeah, it's going to take some time to find the appropriate person. Like, you need to have that hiring down as far as figuring out what specific needs you need and hiring the right person into that role. But, like, once you figure that out, you can very easily have this person, once a week or once a month, whatever, be collecting all of those and putting them into MailChimp and, sending out an email once a week. And for somebody that knows what they're doing, that would take them maybe an hour to schedule for emails for an entire month, and to enter the emails in, whereas that would take you
a couple of days.
Hours. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things that, maybe they're charging you, $25, $50 an hour, whatever it is, to be able to do that. So maybe you're paying them $100 a month to be able, somebody at $50 an hour to be able to schedule 4 emails out. But that's all process automation. And once you get that process in place for that, then that's the first thing that's off of your plate. And then that stuff just starts paying you money, right? There's a link in there how to order this meal, or if you like this meal suggestion, go online to order this. And it's not anything that you ever have to think about. You're just paying that person $100 a month. And if you think about that, if you're paying that person $100 a month, that's the equivalent of, whatever your hourly rate that you're charging for catering would equate out to.
Right.
I mean, think of how much more you could be doing with your time with that $100.
Right. Yeah. Right.
100%. I wouldn't even know what the inside of MailChimp looks like if I were you. Like,
I completely agree.
But, you might pay someone, I don't know, we'll say $500 to get that MailChimp up and running to where it's all in automation. But then once that's up and running and it's done, you basically, every time you do a catering event, you just send them a spreadsheet of here's the names and emails and phone numbers, plug them in, and then all it does in the background is just send out a series of emails that the point of those emails is to either do sign up for catering, or a referral for catering, or to do the meal planning, or whatever you'd want that to be.
No,
you'd have to sit down with that person and be like, here's where I think I would want this to go, because that's the whole point of doing that, is to, like, get them to where you want them to go.
Right.
Now, in the beginning, you might only get, I don't know, one job out of the a month out of it or whatever. But once you start building that list up to 5,000 people or whatever, which if you're doing 3 or 4 caterings a week, which I know is not consistent, but let's just say it's 3 or 4 caterings a week. Let's just call it an average of 50 people. 25 of those 50 people give you their information, or 10 out of 50 people give you that information. Like, it's not going to take very long for that to get up to a point where you've now got a large pool of people that are aware of who you are. They see information from you because now you're giving them stuff that's great information that they can use in their daily lives. And then the best part about that is at some point, I'm just going to throw over here, Main Street Media, Josh Novak.
Right.
What Josh is going to do, he's going to sit there and he's going to realize, like 75% of your list is women. What if we just put a whole different automation in here of like 12 treats that you could fix up in an hour for your kids on a Saturday morning or something like that. Like, and then, if they're interested in that stuff, they just go down that little chute and that information, like, he's going to start, they're going to start noticing trends. And then hopefully if you have a good person who's attentive, like Josh, then that list will actually become even more valuable and you'll get more people to get more value out of it because you're catering, pun intended, catering that information to them. Right.
Yeah.
It's not, it seems, it's more of a long-term payoff thing. Like, it might take a year for it to be like where you're sitting down and you're like, that email automation thing was one of the best things I ever did. Going to Marketing Monday with Shelly and Adam was one of the best things I ever did. Right. But, and then all of that stuff the best part about doing that is when you sit down and you write down all that information on how to do these meals and everything, all of that is stuff that you can then post on Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Right.
You're reusing your content.
Yeah. Snapchat for you would be awesome. Or Instagram stories or Facebook stories.
But I wouldn't even complicate it that far yet. Like, if, until you get to the point that you hire a social media person, which I think that should be hire number 2 for you.
Dos.
If that's the first thing that you're saying is like the biggest pain in your ass, like, then that's the first thing that should be coming off your plate. Like, yes, you can do it. And I was once told by a very wise woman by the name of Melissa Johnson at Oh My Cupcakes, just because you can be doing something doesn't mean you should be doing it.
Absolutely, 100%.
And even though you can be doing your own social media, somebody else is probably going to be doing a better job of it. Again, it's going to take some time to figure out who that right person is.
Right.
And you have to, I think as business owners, a lot of times we're like, but it's going to cost me money, right? And then we always just immediately, like, everything is like, what's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? And once you start thinking of investments into people as, okay, this hire should be netting me at least 3 times what I'm paying them in return, then that's where it's a way easier to like disconnect the number away from it and say, okay, here's what we're going to do for this. Here's what I expect of you. Like, if I'm paying you $25 an hour or $50 an hour or whatever it is, then at the end of the day, when we're reviewing all of this monthly or however often you sit down with them, they should be able to prove to you and say, okay, well, we've been able to grow your following this much. We had this much click through. We had this much redirect. We had, whatever, for them to be able to show you this is how I'm being able to earn this. And you're going to pay for that. Like, you're going to,
I think that, so not to be rude to either one of you, but
you can't be rude to me.
But I've definitely gone down this road a few different times with a few different people, and for whatever reason, just haven't found the right fit yet.
So what do you feel like? What are the not reasons, but like, what are some of the things that like haven't worked for you in those roles? So you know what you're not looking for.
Right. So I can think of one of them. It just seemed like I was paying them way too much for not enough. Right. So, and I'm a very understanding guy, so I'm never like, oh, it's your fault, you're not doing anything right. I usually put it back on me, and I realize, like, okay, like, I can't afford you because I actually don't have the time, or I don't want to make the time to actually tell you this is the expectation, and this and that and this and that, and I can only pay this much. So that was one headache I ran into. The other time is I really felt like it was just somebody that was just willing to help me out, and anytime I brought up money, it was like, no, it's okay, don't worry about it, I'm just happy to help. But then they got busier, and then it was like, okay, now where do we go from here? So I
charging for something that you're really good at That's a good idea.
Right. No, and I
buying people lunch.
and I totally respect that too. Like, and I feel like I probably just need to get out more and ask more and interview more, rather than just say, well, it didn't work out, so we're gonna try something else. But really try to meet some new people, because and maybe other business owners are like that. It's like, where I want to do this, but every time I reach out and ask, they hit me with a price tag that I can't afford right now, and so it's just like, well, they must all be that way, and I don't think that they are.
No, and I would urge you to, like, before.
And you guys have definitely helped me kind of open my eyes to that. Is that okay? It's not like it's a great idea. You've already had that idea, Lance, but now you need to network and find the right person to help you do this.
I would urge you, before you even do that, like, take a couple weeks and with you and your son sitting down, and everybody who's active in the business, your wife, like, figure out what those expectations are. Like, you should go into this with a very clear expectation of, I'm looking for somebody with these particular qualities.
Yeah.
So that you can know, like, I can only afford this much per month, and be realistic about what you can afford from that person. I expect this many posts. I expect an email campaign. I expect blah, 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 blah. Whatever you see other people that you're like, this is what I expect out of it. And go into it with a very clear post of the tangible things, but also the untangible things. Like, I'm not a micromanager, so I don't expect somebody who is going to want me, like, I don't want somebody texting me 12 times a day asking me if this is okay. Just freaking do it.
Right.
But maybe you're the opposite of that. But, like, that should be clear up front, because that's a total personality thing that you have to make sure you find the right fit for somebody on your team.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I would add on to that, because it's a great point, is don't be sorry for what you don't know about. And you might, if social media and email automation and everything like that seems like it's not anything that you don't know about, something that I've kind of run into, so I had a detailing business, detailing cars, and something that took me a while to show people and educate them on was that I'm not simply just washing your car and charging you $200 for it.
Right.
That is not simply what I'm doing. So as an example, if you're talking to someone and they're like, yeah, that's going to be like $2,000. And you're like, what?
Right.
Are you out of your mind?
Right.
Then at that moment, it's in these moments that I then ask people, okay, why? Like, why is it that you're charging that?
Right.
And they might just come out being frank with you. Hopefully you find someone that's frank with you, because, I mean, that sucks if you don't. But there's a ton of nuances into doing something like social media and automation, email automation and everything like that. And if they say, listen, like, if you were to start this right now, it would take you 5 to 8 years to figure this out. What's that worth to you? And you're like, well, shit, that's a great point.
Right.
And it might, on the surface, it does look like all you're simply doing is just scheduling out Facebook posts, and that's it. It's 5 minutes of work and you're done. And you're like, I'm going to hop on my phone and do that. But where the magic of that stuff actually comes in is all in the caption. Like, for most people that do this really, really well, they put thought into the exact wording, the exact grammar that they're using and everything like that, the exact picture. Like, all this stuff is very strategic, and that's all intangibles that you cannot put, like, you can't, someone who's ignorant to something like that doesn't know.
Yeah.
And in the same way that someone's going to look at you cooking a burger and being like, why does that burger cost me $25?
Right.
I don't understand. Well, idiot.
Right.
Or ignorant person, not
Right.
idiot, ignorant person.
Right.
What you don't know is I took the last 2 years in figuring out the right steak tip, shredded steak, and to 70% lean beef ratio,
Right.
and combining it. Like, you might not go into that depth, but you might know how to do it. And if someone's looking at you like, why are you charging so much money for a burger when I can go to McDonald's and get $1 one? Well, go ahead and do it then.
Right.
But I had to take 2 years to figure out this recipe and everything like that. Like, and that's an intangible that someone from the outside looking in might not ever realize. And that's one thing. Like, that sometimes you just have to ask those questions, and you just have to, and they might just really put it on the table and say, listen, my customers, I deal with Fortune 1000 companies. Like, if I'm going to take you on, it means I'm taking an hour of time away from them,
Right.
and they pay a whole lot more money than you do. And you're like, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm probably not your customer.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So don't be afraid to ask questions like that either. Like, hey, I'm really not understanding where this is quote is coming in at. Like, can you help me figure it out?
Yeah.
And if they can't explain it, then they're not going to be a good communicator to you on why they're doing certain things.
Right.
And you probably don't want them in the first place.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So one other question that I have, I know you came in with like, how do I maximize what's already out there? So let's take one of your streams of revenue, whether, I don't care whether it's the catering or whether it's the meal delivery, but let's take one of your streams of revenue and like, tell us what you have tried for marketing in the last year to maximize that stream of revenue.
Okay. So, the catering, for example, you can't necessarily control when people have events and that sort of thing, but the meal delivery service, that's pretty consistent. So I'll talk about that, I guess.
Okay.
So the way that whole thing started was when I left this resort and I came back to Sioux Falls. I was working for another chef, but I had 2 days off in the middle of the week, and I'm kind of trying to start my life over again. And I just put a post on Facebook that said, hey, Sioux Falls peeps, I'm trying to make some money tomorrow. I cook, I clean, I do yard work. Like, I kind of put myself out there, let me know if I can help. And a friend of mine was just diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And so she had to cut all gluten out of her diet and some other stuff too. And so she said, how much would you charge me to cook meals for my family? Because it's taken me, again, like what we just talked about, it's taken me a day and a half to get this done, and I'm not enjoying it, and it's not good.
Along with the research and everything else that person's having to do.
So what would you charge me to do it? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, I'll go buy the groceries. We'll talk, let's break this down. What do you want me to cook for you? Start there, and then I'll buy the groceries, show you the receipt, and I'll just charge you a fair price. Mm-hmm. She said, perfect. So I did that. And then her neighbor, everyone's got that nosy neighbor, saw me, delivering food in a chef coat. And who's that? And what did he do? And do you think he'd do that for me? And this was like 5 years ago, and it was in Brandon. And so since I was already cooking for 2 people in Brandon, I knew about 4 other people that lived in Brandon. And so I just started texting them. Said, hey, I'm cooking this for some other people in the area. And then obviously the light bulb kicked on, and it was like, if I'm doing it for just Brandon, why don't I do it a little closer to home? And so just started texting people the menu. And I've gotten back to that where in my mind, like, that's a good business model, just because prior to me getting my cafe, I was doing the meal delivery just 1 day a week, because a friend of mine, I was working for him, and his restaurant was closed 1 day a week. And so I used his restaurant on that day to really build this up. And then when I got the cafe, I said I wanted to kind of streamline it, because, again, it was a post on Facebook, and then I would share it, and other people would share it, and people would order off of your post, and some people were texting me, and some people were emailing, and I was pulling my hair out and just stressed because I was always afraid I'd forget something. And so that's when my brain was like, if I build a website, then people can just order and buy through the website. And that was a headache, just because I don't know how to upload and change the weekly menu. And so the first company that I hired, they weren't open on the weekends. And it was part of me is because I was unorganized and I didn't have the next menu ready. But when I am ready to post it, I want to do it right now, And so I thought, well, I'll do a website. So if it's a website, and then rather than changing it every week, then I started offering more and more and more and more and more items. And as soon as I started offering so many items, then my sales went way down because it was like, well, why should I order lasagna today? I could order it tomorrow, or I could order it next week, or I could order it, So I've gotten back into that, like, here's the menu, this is what I'm making. I'm only making it this Monday, and kind of reaching out to people either through social media or just texting my current clients as well as past clients and saying, this is what I'm making. And, that's growing consistently, but I would like that part of it to grow even more. Right. So
when you say texting, do you literally mean like you're like sending a text to Adam and then a text to me and then a text to Joe and then a text to Josh?
Yeah.
Boy, that gives me.
Holy moly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
how long does that, just out of curiosity, like how long does that take you?
So, well, thank God for copy and paste.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
But even if you're copy and pasting.
Right.
Adam's like, let me at it.
There's one thing that I love in this world, and that's efficiency.
Right.
This is not so efficient.
Right. See, and I went down that road before too, because I used to dabble in writing. I haven't written in a while, but I used to write, and part of that was it was the same thing. It was I would send it out individually, copy and paste every morning, and it grew up to like 200. So this would be taking me about half an hour, 45 minutes going through this, right? I know.
Just keep going. I'm just gonna sit over here in misery.
and so anyway, so then people were like, well, you could do an email, right? And then so then I just started putting it in one place. But what I found is that like less people were seeing it, less people were hearing about it, and stuff like that. And so being a high school dropout, if something works, then that's what I tend to go back to. So I've tried some different things, and for whatever reason, they didn't work. I know that part of that was me, and part of that was the connections that I made. But then I tend to go back to, well, hey, this works, and this is.
Don't use high school dropout as like a crutch or something like that, because
No.
I might as well have been a high school dropout.
No, I mean I'm just saying.
But
that,
it doesn't mean that you're simple-minded.
Without a like a marketing degree or like
you don't need it.
Whatever.
This is you're doing business 101.
Yeah.
I'm doing something. I'm getting a great result out of it. Just keep doing that shit.
Right.
Like
absolutely.
you're doing something that I'm telling you right now. Most people, they then take that and they just like way overcomplicate it. They're like, oh well, if I write some custom code and like do this and that, like, no, just this is what I'm doing now. The only reason why I get a little bit antsy as far as like the efficiency front of it is because like that's a lot to manage, and unfortunately there is some programs out there. I've looked into it, I've dabbled with it a little bit. There is some programs out there that will allow you to do mass texting, just like email marketing. And the reason why you saw that steep drop off after you went to email, even though it is the most efficient way to do this and the most cost prohibitive, most cost effective way to do it. The fact of the matter is that the open rates for email versus text message blows it out of the water.
Right.
It is ridiculous. Right. It's like 97. You're going to get a 97 to 100% open rate on text messages. Now, the reply might be way lower, but I know that this is something that has to be coming along because Gary Vee and some other bigger influencers are saying, hey, text me. So there must be a way to do that. The only thing that I would say that might be a hack for it that also might be cheap is Google Voice.
Sure.
I don't know if there's a way to do a mass. I'm doubting that there's a way to do a mass text message through Google Voice, but that might be a way that they're able to pull this off. There's a service out there that this is happening. I just don't know how much it is. I've looked into text message marketing before.
They call it SMS marketing.
It's not cheap.
No. My thought for you on it, as far as efficiency or maybe a workaround, might be, and again, you certainly wouldn't have to, but it goes back again to social media a bit. But have you ever considered creating like a group in Facebook for your regular? So if you have, let's say that you have 50 people that you text, what if you just have essentially a group message in like Chef Lance's weekly order group or whatever. Like you can create a custom group for them, specifically for them. But then, I mean, it gives you that place to be able to share recipes or whatever. It doesn't replace your page. It doesn't replace your other social media marketing that you're doing. But in there, you can have like a Google form, for instance. Google Forms are super easy to manage, super easy and free, that they can input their order into that. And then everything is housed all in one place for you.
Yeah.
I'm a little opposite from Adam in that like my mind goes to the back end of it as far as like there's so much data that you have from customers that isn't getting collected and being used going forward to grow. So for instance, like you said with the catering, like they're not consistent and some of that kind of stuff, like you can't control how frequently you get them and that sort of thing. But if you had a marketing person that was good, that was helping you, they could very easily be gathering all the information, being like, okay, City of Sioux Falls had a catering event ordering this and this on this date. So then leading up to the holiday season next year, they're sending them marketing in October saying, hey, Christmas party planning is coming up. We're going to do this, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you should.
Right.
But I'm saying if there was some way that data was all being collected, and if you used an automated system like that for your meal planning, it would be able to feed into it and say, okay, Susie orders 3 lasagnas and 2 tater tot casseroles and whatever, and you'd have all that data collected on the back end all in one place, because when you're texting, I'm assuming that stuff's not getting recorded anywhere and then being used for marketing purposes going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think the timing of this is really good too, because you know, it wasn't until I think it was Christmas Eve that I ever really had like a marketing meeting. Like my son and I, like we actually sat down and I was like, okay, like these are all the good things that we have going for us, and these are the days that we haven't. We just kind of took the month of January, and we said, this, dry board or whatever, and say like this is going on, and so I think the timing of this is great because my first year in business, I had no idea which revenue streams even were important to me, right? So, there was times I did 5-6 cooking class, and those were great and those were fun, and I'm sure that I got events out of them and everything. But what I realize is that I don't need to do that many. Like that's not, even if I was doing one every night, that's not gonna, take me to where I want to go.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but they're fun and it fills a different bucket for you probably. So they're important to still keep in there.
So they're important to be there.
Yeah.
But so that was, with that meeting and then this meeting too. I mean, I'm ecstatic about just sitting down and letting you guys talk to me and let me be transparent or whatever. Because I just think the timing of it is really right. I think some people when they start business, they know what they want to do. They know where they want to go, and maybe they have blinders on, and they're like, nope, I'm not going that way. I'm not going that way. Whereas for me, I really thought that I had a great clientele going for the family meal delivery. And I thought, man, as soon as I get into that cafe, I'm going to make small little deals of meatloaf and put them in my cooler, and all the employees are going to grab them and stuff. And guess what? They don't. They didn't. So my first full year in business was a lot of that. Like, what should I do? Like every day trying to kind of figure out what should I do. And now I think I have a better understanding of who I am and what I do and where I want to go. And this is just good timing as far as like, okay, so we've had these ideas in the past. Now it's time to maybe team up with the right person and, streamline it or whatever. So and who knows? I mean, we could be back here in a year and I could be like, you know what? I didn't do any catering in 2020, but the family meals deal that really went up, or it could be the other way around too.
It would be awesome to get an 2021 update.
Yeah.
I would love to do that with us. Like, I would love for us to have kind of a recap with some of our like invite back.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So we are about 50 minutes in.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I know. It flies, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Every single person says that. They're like, really? We're already that far? So take the last few minutes. You can talk about anything you want right now. So you can talk about your dog. You can say how much you love your wife for the next 5 minutes. I mean, you can say whatever
gosh,
you
now
want.
I have to.
Well,
You're not required to do that. You're not
required. I mean, yes.
I do love my wife very much. No, I don't know. Like, thank you so much, for having me. This has been, a lot of fun, and I don't know either one of you, so it's kind of weird getting to know people.
Now you do live,
And I love podcasts. I mean, I've watched yours and some of the other local ones, and then obviously some of the national ones. I'm a big music fan, and lately I haven't been listening to music. I listen to podcasts.
Attaboy.
And while I drive, just because it sharpens me, or it just makes me laugh. I guess that's the biggest thing. So
last week we had Bobby Peacock on. Did you listen to?
I didn't.
So he has DJ Peacock. So watch him. He does like some music. If you're into music, where I'm going with that. He does some cool stuff.
I have to check that out. No, I listen to some of the funnier, like some of the comedians' podcasts and stuff, and some political ones, but I can't do too much of that, or I just
really,
just
I don't think any of us can do too much political stuff.
Just get angry. So. But no, I mean, I'm excited about I guess where I'm at and what 2020 has in store. I a lot of times being this is like my third or fourth time in business, but this is truly I really feel like I know where I'm going, I know what I'm doing, and I feel good about what the future holds for this. Expect some of the things that we talked about today, that I do that. And I guess my question for you guys is and this probably happens a lot for entrepreneurs or self-employed folks or whatever, is that you get kind of stuck in that work bubble, and you get invited to 97 things a week. And what are some good events in your opinion that you don't want to miss? Obviously, like anything Matt Paulson does, seems like there's always good attendance and good folks there. But is there, obviously the bakery's not here anymore, and they always had just a ton of great events that you could go to and meet people that maybe, 3 years ago they'd charge you $25 an hour, but now they're at $200 an hour or something like that. I mean, do you guys have any recommendations there?
Honestly, I'm probably not going to give you the answer that you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I hate networking, hate it with passion.
Yeah.
I'm just not, and I never have been. I am very much a relational, conversation person. Mm-hmm. So honestly, there's a couple people in the entrepreneurial world that have just started private messaging people and inviting them off for coffee. I know you do it all the time. I know, I do it too, just to catch up with people. But Ryan Folk, I'm just going to give him a shout out on here. But he has multiple times just messaged me. I didn't know him the first time that he ever messaged me. It was like, hey, I see you commenting a lot. You seem to know what you're talking about. You teach, blah, blah, blah. Can I buy you a coffee and just kind of learn more about you? Sure. And so we just had lunch, I don't know, a month or so ago too. And he, follow up. But for me, that's more the kind of relationships that I want to build with people.
Sure.
I don't enjoy BNI, and nothing against them. It's just not my kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would much rather get to know somebody's story and understand them on that kind of level, whether it's business related or not, whether we end up going into some sort of business relationship or not. Chances are that I'm going to be able to reach out and be like, oh yeah, so that person, if Adam's telling me, my wife is really struggling with being able to clean our house, and gosh, this is just really, whatever, then chances are I've probably known somebody's story that I can be like, you know what, I know that my friend Bob has had really awesome luck with so-and-so,
sure,
whatever. And that means way more to me. So, I'll go to 1 Million Cups, and you should know what that is, and you should keep an eye open for if there's people's stories there that you really want to hear, or if there's something, happening out at Zeal or whatever that. But as far as regular things in this town, the only things that I'm really interested in are stuff that I know I can connect on a pretty personal level with people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and just copycat Shelly.
Same. Yeah.
There is when I had Adam Heber's detailing, it was extremely beneficial for me to go and do networking events. And to be honest, on the last 6 months in starting up Clarity Coat, the amount of energy that I've had to stick into it and the time that it's taking is exponentially more than what it took for AHD. And so for me to spend more time, more energy on going to these networking events, that I might meet someone that is extremely beneficial for where I'm at right now in my life, whether that be on a personal relationship. Shelly is 100% a person that if she texts me as like, I need to do lunch or dinner, like I'm going to spend that time with her, because she emotionally helps with like me and my wife and a lot of those other things. And I don't need a direct payoff for going and seeing someone, but I just need to know that when I go and see that person, that it's not going to be someone that's trying to pitch me on they want to build my website for me, or it's not just going to be simply a B2B type meeting where like at this stage of my life, I really just need some people in my corner that I know if I need a certain thing, like emotional, or they have expertise in something, that I can pluck them out. And because I've taken the time to go and do lunch, dinner, coffee, whatever with them, that's really helpful. And not to mention the fact that when right now, from working at home, like you get almost no people interaction or whatever. So having this podcast and then stuff like that, like where you're able to go out and talk to people, it fills up my cup a lot more to just to go way past surface level stuff and just get right down to that stuff and dig down deep into that kind of thing. And so the long answer is, I don't know what to tell you. What I would maybe encourage you to do is find the people that you think are doing things really, really well, reach out to them personally and say, listen, man, like I would really love to know more about you. And I don't want to do it through a networking event, like, because I want to cut through all the riffraff, and like, I just really want to get to know you.
Sure.
And
that makes a lot of sense.
Sometimes people appreciate that no BS approach. Other people just don't. And it's okay. Like that's not on you. That's on them, type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at right now. Like I've scheduled out quite a few lunch meetings or coffee meetings this week to just like sit down and just talk with people. There's nothing that I want out of them. It's just, just want to sit and talk with people, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's what I would encourage you to do. Don't be afraid to, I've just learned, like, if people know that you're a good person, you're not trying to just solicit something out of them,
right?
Hitting them up with a text message or Facebook message, whatever, you'd be amazed at how well that works.
Yeah.
Chris Heinz is probably a person that I would say has amazed me with that, where I just hit him up one day on Messenger and be like, dude, I've known about you for like the last couple of years. We've never sat down and had lunch. We should do that. And he's like, you're right. Like, we haven't done that. He's like, hell yeah, let's do that. And then we found out that he likes non-pen. I love non-pen. And like, now we have a bromance over non-pen.
There you go. Perfect.
Speaking of non-pen, if you haven't talked with Suyet, might be someone just to sit down and have a chat with.
Okay.
Suyet is doing some pretty awesome things in the fact that he took over his mom and dad's restaurant business, non-pen, optimized it, made it efficient, and got things down to where it's like not just a sprinkle of this, a sprinkle of that, which is what a lot of Asian cultures is. They don't have like recipes or whatever. Got it to where it's kind of a recipe type thing. And now not only has he kind of stepped away from that and the restaurant business, and now he's doing also doing windshield repair. So like he's got that restaurant going to a point where it kind of does its own thing. He still obviously has to check in and do things or whatever, but like now he's off doing something else. If you need me to connect you guys, like I absolutely would do that. And he's just a great guy to talk to.
Yeah.
So anyways, where can people find you?
Well, on the internet.
On the internet?
Right. Facebook and Instagram right now. I'm actually, the website is down currently. So I know that's a horrible thing.
Facebook, Chef Lance's
Cafe and catering. Yeah.
Cafe and catering.
Is that the same on Instagram?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
At Chefy Chef Chef.
Oh, that's right. I remember. I love your name.
That's what it is. It's the only one.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
No one at the end or underscore.
You were the first.
Yeah,
At Chefy Chef.
6'5" or nothing. Just Chefy Chef Chef.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks, Lance, for coming on. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to stop.